your adult children think you can't handle who they really are. There is a gap between I love you no matter what we say, right? And I'm disappointed in your choices. That's what they hear. So let's talk about that for a little bit. I have 3 adult kids that are totally opposite in the belief spectrum than me. They just believe totally different things than me. So there's a lot of families going through this. I'm a conservative, they're not, okay? I love children, they don't want to have any children. It's just like everything that I ever taught them, it just never sinked in. I just feel like somewhere along the way, I lost them. At least they're mine. So what should we do is my question. Should we just defend our position, tooth and nails, and then lose them? Lose the connection with them? Which obviously that's not what we want. Deep heart, we want to keep our belief. We want to keep following Jesus and being authentic too in our faith. So now I ask you, what about if they feel the same way for whatever they believe? If they feel very strongly about what they believe. So the question is, how are we going to bridge that? How are we going to bridge us as parents to them, as our adult kids that don't live with us? They live out there. They are responsible. Let's say, in my case, I don't have to deal with anything way too traumatic or dark. Not yet so far. But what is my attitude as a Christian mother with my own children when they are not walking my path, which I would love, not for the sake of just saying, oh, look at my children, they are Christians too. No, deep down, they are my trophies to God. That I see them like my biggest wish is I can present these 3 children to my Lord and say, here, I don't have anything more to give you. This is my treasure in life. These 3 kids, here they are. I'm pointing them to you. I'm giving them to you. They're yours. But then I thought, why do I have to wait until I die to do that? I'm doing that every day. How? The same way that Jesus did. He did it by giving himself to his disciples. So I'm looking closely his walk and how he was in the position that he was at. Because those disciples were like kids. They were hard-headed. They wanted to do it their own little ways. And I just don't see anywhere in there that convincing them of who he was more important than having a connection with them. So my point is, shouldn't we be doing the same thing, at least close to that, most of the time? And I think we should be authentic with ourselves, meaning you don't have to not talk about God just because they don't believe in God, but you don't have to make it so obvious that it's just hard to be with you, because obviously we all have to understand each other and want to be with each other. If I come to my children's house and I start just talking about my belief and trying to convince them and debating them into believing, I don't think we're going to be welcome there. And let alone nowadays with politics, with all of the chaos that is out there, I just don't see that the price is worth it. The price is our relationships. So if I don't go in do what they do and protesting for what they protest, and I don't believe what they believe, let's say my worldview is different than theirs. So what does that mean? Are we going to be divided now? Am I not going to be their mother? That's ridiculous. And if you're doing that to your own children, I don't know what you're doing. Because our first example should be with our closest one. How am I going to go preaching to other people their life that I'm not living? How am I going to I'm going to tell you that the truth in the life is Jesus Christ, right? But yes, I don't have any connection with my kids, or maybe little, or a dry connection with them, because we cannot talk about certain topics and there is a giant gap between us. I wonder why we feel sometimes so distant from God, from feeling connected to Him, because we're not being honest with ourselves. We have to put ourselves out there. And I know it's not easy. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to prove myself, not because of the sake of views or the sake of evangelizing people. I don't think I have that gift. Now, my gift is to say what's inside me, and I always stand by that. But then my culture, my tribe, because I believe in Jesus, I'm called Christian, which is, nowadays, I don't even know what that means. I don't know what that means. I can't tell you that what made me a Christian was to visit a church. I was a Christian before I went to church. I feel a Christian now that I don't go to church. If Christian means to have a relationship with Christ, yes, I am. But it's hard for me to identify with Christians nowadays that don't do what they're supposed to do in their own houses. You gotta fix your house first before you go out there and preach to the world. What's the way, the truth, and the life? If you don't have that way, who's gonna follow you? If your own kids don't look up to you, at least, wow, I wish I can believe that way. I hope, even if I die, that my kids will be telling me, Mom, I really wish I can find out what you have. You know what that means? That I have to tell them the message. And that's what I'm responsible for. I'm not responsible for saving them. I'm not Jesus. I can't save them. I wish I can save them, but that's impossible. So what do? I go to my Lord and I ask Him, please help me to be patient with them. Help me to be an example to them, to mentor them so they can see my faith, my love for you, that they can touch it if it's possible. That is so obvious to them that they just wonder, I wonder how to get that. But it's not like I'm just going to give them a sermon every time I see them doing something I don't agree with. Oh, I don't do that. Or I don't raise you that way. Because they're adults. And I am talking to parents that have adult children. And they're adults, they don't depend on me, so they don't need to be taught like kids. They're just gonna walk away from you and just make the gap even bigger. So we need to do something different, and this has to start. If you do have younger ones still at home, you don't have any help, because the culture out there is doing most of the work. They implanting those beliefs very young in their little, very young heads. So be ready. If you have a bad relationship from the ground up, since they're really young, forget it. It's going to be hard, even harder when they are adults. Because obviously when they're adults, they need you less. So now, if you're ready to give up and say, well, that's it. Sorry, but I don't know how can you live like that. These are your flesh and blood. And I will pray until the day I die that God brings me closer to Him, to abandon my pride, to abandon my laziness, to abandon everything that pulled me away from begging Him to be there with my kids, that I don't know if I'm going to see them ever safe. But I know He's the God of the universe, and He's going to oversee their life. And they're going to know Him. I don't know when. I just know that they will know God the way I do. And they're going to say, oh, this is what Mommy was telling me it was about. I can't wait for that day. And I just know it's going to happen. And that's what faith is. If you don't have that, then how can you say that you believe God? How can you say that God is the God? The only one. How can you believe anything from the Bible if you don't believe that He's in your life? How? And believe me, I don't have a lot of support around me. I'm pretty much alone in my faith, in my family, but guess what? God is greater than all of that. He's with me, and I know He'll be with you. You have to get connected to God, and that's going to help your connection with your children. You have to reinvent yourself. If you don't have that connection with your children, do that before it's too late. Do that, because it might be too late. Just you have to change. Somebody has to do it. More than likely, us as parents have to change. Stop trying to change their minds and trying to understand their hearts. If you have an adult child, call him. Let them know that you want to listen to their struggles, that they want to listen to worldview, to test you, to talk about something that they believe it would be hard to talk about with them. Open up yourself to be authentic with them, but encourage them to be authentic with you. Don't you want your own child to be who they really are with you? How can they be so real out there? You know why? Because they fit in. They don't fit in with us, and that's embarrassing. How is it that my child is gonna be in some group out there, believing something so strongly? That belief is the cause of us not being connected. I wouldn't go and protest with them. That's not gonna happen. It's not about you going and do the same things that they do, but it is about reaching out to them and letting them know that you're willing to understand where they come from. And maybe you can start the conversation to understand each other, and at least come to the fact that they may understand your worldview. Because I don't see any other way for them to see what we have, this gift that we've been given. So I'll be here for the next time, and I wish you the best.